It's Local Edition. Brad Pomerance here in Long Beach, joined by a member of the Long Beach City Council. He is Roberto Uranga, and I am glad he is with us today, sir. I want to speak with you about recent events as it relates to immigration. Long Beach, a city of almost 50% Latinos, and we know that the new president has spoken with some vitriol as it relates to at least Mexicans. How is your city feeling in the wake of some of this rhetoric?
Well, we're not very happy, obviously, and regionally, nobody's happy with what's taking place, especially when you're talking about California. I mean, California is nearly 50% Latino as well.
Well, we know actually that as of, I think it was 2013, Latinos became a plurality of California. There are more Latinos than Anglos. So that's just a fact. Not quite majority status, but still the biggest group.
And the biggest statistic out of that is that they're native born. They're born here.
Right.
It's not immigration. It's birth.
Right.
Birth is outdistancing immigration into California.
And we also know, and we're digressing a bit, but I think it's interesting to discuss that when you think about migration from Mexico, documented or undocumented, the numbers are stable. And we now see more Mexicans going back to Mexico than Mexicans coming into the U.S.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and that's a concern that we have with the current administration and all the executive orders that they're passing right now in regards to Mexicans and sending money back, putting a remit tax.
Yeah, well, let's talk about what we know, because events are moving quickly, but what we do know is that President Trump signed an executive order, the details are yet to be clear, that if a jurisdiction does not cooperate with federal immigration officials, the federal government will look to strip federal funds. That's a very significant development. It would be a dramatic change in policy. Where do you come down on this question?
Well, that whole thing of what he's threatening us with, actually, you know, I look at it, he's being a bully, and he's being a blackmailer. He's trying to blackmail cities into cooperating with the federal government when it's not their job.
And it's interesting you mentioned that. I don't mean to interrupt, but I think it's important for us to recognize that he's really looking at issues of criminal justice. He wants cities, we'll call it cities, to turn over criminals.
Yeah.
But cities really aren't the first line of defense. It's counties. Counties deal with criminal justice.
And that's what's counterintuitive about what he's doing, because if he's looking at cutting back funds for cities to do public safety, those are the very agencies that he wants to support his policies.
Right.
So it's totally consistent with his illogic stance on things, but it's totally incongruent with what we want to do here.
Talk me through the concerns of local law enforcement, because look, intuitively it would seem like, well, if someone's here illegally and they're a criminal, they should leave. But there's more texture and layers to that. Why is law enforcement reticent to become immigration officials?
Well, the point is that when you criminalize a person with a broken taillight or a headlight, and you're threatening them with being deported, they're not going to cooperate with other people, with you, in regards to if they see a crime, see something, say something. They're not going to do that, because they're going to be afraid that because they come out to the forefront and volunteer information, they themselves are going to be subject to inquisition. And that's what it is.
And that's exactly
it's an inquisition.
What I've heard from multiple law enforcement officials, that in the end, to solve crime, you need the assistance of local communities, of community members. You need their eyes and ears. And the concern is, and I was actually reading in the LA Times recently that there were some LAPD officers, sister city near Long Beach, that went to investigate a crime, and some folks who happen to have been of Latino descent said, no, we're not talking, Trump's the new sheriff in town. That to some is problematic. Because you need cooperation.
It's problematic to everybody, especially when you're looking at, you want to solve crimes. You're not going to get those crimes solved because there's nobody talking. And when it comes down to it, all politics are local. And when it comes to the local politics, we need to have the cooperation of our citizens and residents. We need to have anybody who lives in Long Beach, whether legal or not, to step forward and come and indicate if they see something, to say something about a crime.
So the question becomes, how far does Long Beach take this? Because, look, we don't know if in the end President Trump will try to withhold federal funds for non-cooperating jurisdictions. But for argument's sake, look, legal scholars have said, could he strip all federal funds? Probably not. Could he strip law enforcement federal funds? Arguably. And
well, because it's related.
Right. So do you fight to the end?
Always.
Really?
Always. We need to protect our residents, again, legally or undocumented.
Right.
Because they are living here, they're paying taxes. I mean, we all know the stats. Immigrants contribute billions of dollars to the local economy. The future of our educational systems is based on immigrants. The future doctors, lawyers, professors are growing up now, and they might not be documented, but they certainly are here. We have him threatening the deferred action for children arrivals.
Can we
arrivals.
talk about DACA?
Sure.
And the reason I want to speak with you about it is because prior to your joining the Long Beach City Council, you were a trustee with the Long Beach Community College District.
Right.
And you were president of, I'm not sure the name of the organization, the National Community College.
ACCT.
Yeah. So you know
Yep.
from what you speak when we talk about community college students.
Right.
Here's what I've learned. 61,000 of California's community college students are dreamers. What does that mean? They applied for deferred action
Right.
because they were brought here before the age of 15, they're younger than 30, and they now have legal status.
Well, not necessarily legal status. What they have is an ability to get employed.
A deferral.
And to
Deferral from deportation.
to work and to come to school and create a life for themselves. But it's also a pathway towards citizenship.
Right.
And that's what we need to be working on. That's what we need to concentrate our efforts on. It's on a pathway to get into citizenship. And that's where our immigration system is broken. I mean, there's been efforts in the past,
Right.
and just been failing because the Republican Party didn't want to basically address immigration in a realistic sense.
Well, it's interesting
We're brought to this point.
during the Obama years, Senate Republicans were on board. It was House Republicans that wouldn't get on board. But here's what's scary for dreamers. When they applied for deferred status, they gave their name, their age, their social security number, their address.
Right.
So the federal government has that information.
They can find them.
They can find them. We don't know what's going to happen with DACA. We know President Trump during the campaign said he wanted to revoke. As we speak today, it hasn't happened.
No. Actually, I think there were a couple of bills introduced by Judy Chu, one of them, Congresswoman,
From this area.
to protect DACA, to protect their identities.
And even Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina
agreed
has
with it.
floated a bill to protect the DACA students.
Right.
But these are interesting times indeed.
Yeah. There's pushback. I mean, there's obviously some degree of disagreement
Right.
within the federal government in terms of what's taking place.
Right.
Even within the Republican Party, they're not 100% behind Trump.
Will you come back? Because I want to continue this conversation. It's
Sure.
really important to the people of Long Beach and California.
Sure.
His name is Roberto Uranga. He is a councilman in the city of Long Beach, where we are today. I'm Brad Pomerance. We're so glad you stayed with us on Local Edition.